Check, check. Hey, there I am. And then let me just get the mixer live. Cool. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and launch live. Everybody's favorite addiction, Ableton Live 12. Apologize for the lighting. It's a bit convex today. I'm going to zoom out, actually. There we go. Cool. If you want a better stream of this, go to my YouTube, youtube.com/Codakolor. I will try not to go too fast, actually. That's a lie. I'm going to go as fast as I possibly can. Let me just tighten this guy. There we go. Okay. So here we are in Ableton. I'm going to switch over to a light setting so that way it's a little bit more visible to our Instagram viewers. It's not bad. And then one more thing. I'm going to launch my Hue Sync app. And let's just start the video. You'll see why soon. Okay, so we are now in the Ableton Live. I'm going to go ahead and start fresh here. There's a track that I've been wanting to make for a while. And the sample exists in my old school Mac samples going all the way down. I have...
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
You know, stuff like that. I also have cool one-shots from like Clarity. If you've ever wanted the vocals from Clarity, well, I have them.
Every time.
I've sampled that part in particular, actually, which is funny. Okay, cool. Kitty cat dance song.
Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, dance.
Cool. Anyways, I like my suitcase. I have Alex Jones.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
So, anyways, got a bunch. But there is one going way back, and this is sorted by date modified. Going back to... Oh, jeez. It's... I want to see if I could do anything with it. I'm kind of curious if I can. This is back in 2020. At one point, I was collecting samples like that. Gravity Hill. That's the name of it. So, back in the day, there was an arcade machine, oftentimes found in movie theaters, in malls. The right demographic. Licensed by ICE, which is ICE. But meant something completely different back then. They were an amusement company licensor, I believe a distributor. But they commissioned a game in which you roll a marble up a hill. And the mountain's blue. There are a few holes, so you have to hop the ball over. This is from it. That's the best quality I could find of this game. I've tried contacting the manufacturer. I've gone to great extents to try to find the sample. But that one song stuck with me since I was 8 years old. And I wanted to do something with it. So here we are doing something with it. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. We're going to see if we maybe recreate a few parts of it first. Oftentimes you'll find this as a good source of motivation, especially if you have writer's block. I will subject that to a warp because I believe there's a tangible beat going on. Sweet. I want it to be UKG style. Or at least breaks. Come on, break beat. Why isn't breakbeat big? Like, breaks. Bring back breaks. So as you could hear, it's pretty slurry. There's also another part over here. That's a one-shot. Mute. Okay. Yeah. Cool. There's some really cool parts that we can recreate in here. This is a long-lost melody. It may have been licensed music by the gaming company, the one who actually created the amusement game itself. You can also find this most likely at an amusement park. But I played the one that was at Westy 5 in Westminster, Colorado, back when I was 8 years old. Waiting for, at the time, 8 years old would have been 2002, Samurai, no, 2003. Huh. All right, well, I'm going to have to figure that one out. Anyways, there's a lot. First of all, the drums are out of sync. There's a pluck synth that I'm hearing right away, so maybe that's where I start. Let's just make sure that lines up with the BPM. Perfect. Okay, first thing, it's actually clipping. That's the problem. Right away, it's just clipping. So I'm going to take the full waveform, reduce the gain, and then still put a limiter, because we still have fragments of the artifacts, particularly the compression, which is acting as that slurry, horrible, this thing's been compressed to crap kind of thing. Obviously, they used like a web encoder on the original video that was then compressed by YouTube and then stolen by me. So in this case, we're probably going to have to keep some of the transients. So I would probably switch to drums, or beats rather, and then preserve every 1 16ths, and then go straight for that, and hope to God that's it. And then you can reduce this number right here. Not bad. I'm going to duplicate this and actually have one that's just regular. I'll start that one at yellow. These are now in a group. Just for organization's sake, so I'm going to call it Gravity Hill, all caps. Make sure the group's white, otherwise, or black, or brown. It could be any color, really. I like using kind of a uniform monochromatic color just to keep everything in line. But white usually goes pretty well as a bracket, and then it holds colors inside. I don't know. One of these is going to be without effect, so I'm going to say this is no beats. This one's the beats, and I'm going to put 16ths. I mean, that by itself is kind of a jam. Like, if we were to beef it up a little bit with the saturator. Okay, I'm going to let this go for about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to go right back to the down track, or the one right below it. If we remove a lot of the low part, because it is slushy, roll it off probably around 200 hertz. Nope, lower than that. Pro tip, if you take this same chain, group it as well, you can now take that group, copy it, paste it over to the no beats with a limiter on the end. Easy. So now this part, it's just a bit obnoxious, really. There's a lot of sibilance coming from the compression, which was probably an MP3 or likewise compression. That adds this god-awful sibilance around 1 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, and 10. 10 kilohertz is where I'm really hearing it. It's like, ugh. And actually, if you look at the waveform of a compressed sample without any effect, if I were to just zero out my frequency on the 4, oops, if I were to just disable my 4, you could say that there's a hard cutoff right here. That clap on the offbeat's just getting me every time. But if I look over here to my left hand, bottom left corner, you can see that is where whatever exporter, which if it were a computer, it were a low quality sound card, would cut off the maximum sample rate, which is 11.1 kilohertz, which is, if you were to double that, is the total audible frequency of whatever the sample is. Or if we go half, we realize that the sample rate was no more than 5 megabits per second, maybe? I don't know. I'm trying to do the calculations in my head, but basically it's a very compressed signal. And there's really no way of recovering these unless we were to excite the frequencies that are half whatever 11 kilohertz is. So around 55 maybe. If we were to excite something around this, then that works specifically in favor of adding harmonic sibilance to the end, which then you can just carve out using an EQ8 at the very end. You're recreating a lot of garbage. So there's going to be a lot of surgical, I've had to do this a lot, where I had to surgically remove specific notches in the frequency field where there's just these obnoxious spikes. You could hear it a lot with just compressed signal like that, but the quickest fix to just get rid of all that especially with any kind of like tss, 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 that hi-hat's obnoxious. You take an auto filter, put it at the very end, and then just roll it off. And then it's like listening to it at an old speaker at Lakeside. Like, it's perfect. You just kind of perfect. Now it's not super obnoxious. I will look at the mids now, because the mids are just, they're really out there. Okay, I'm going to take that. That's my first, call this my chessboard. Right, and when you look at the chessboard all the way back, well, as soon as I add more, you'll see there are these light gray spots and these dark gray spots. Imagine it as an 8x8 chessboard. Realistically, most house music, especially for on-the-floor beat music, will follow this grid, and is crucial that you maintain to it, albeit unless you have like some kind of vocal intro or something that takes a measure or 2 or 4, whatever it is. If it pushes it slightly off, then you have an off-kilter grid. Realistically, I like starting on the hard spot of a gray area. That gives me context to the rest of my song as I build it out in arrangement mode. And I'm going to start with my first piece, which I just copied from over there. And that's the beginning of... Now, of course, we have this top part that's the 16th notes. That preserves the nice audible parts. We do know that it rolls off now at 11.1 kilohertz, so I'm going to take my high shelf on the right-hand side, go back to 11.1, roll it off. Get rid of the really mucky bass. The more you cut out of a sample, the better it's going to be, the more open it's going to be in the final mix. But as a result, you need to layer. So there's a harsh frequency coming out right there at 2.95 kilohertz. I'm going to go ahead and activate node number 5. Type in 2.500. And then with the high Q is just the notch that it carves out from your full frequency field. Since this is a double bandsaw, you can do both ways at a very harsh angle. And then if you reduce your gain, we've missed it completely. I've missed it completely. Okay. 2.3. Got it. You can always zoom in. I just like kind of eyeing it. Always go by ear. Always go by ear. If you have a good sound system that you're familiar with, just go by ear. It's the best way to go. But anyways, now we have that top end part, and then we have the bottom part. Now I want it to have some kind of pump. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in the mids. A great way to reduce the amount of mid information, or just in general information, putting an LFO tool or a sidechain compressor, and then a 4 on the floor beat. A kick drum beat. Very future funk. Okay, I'm going to loop this one part. Oops. Disable MIDI mode, loop. With the top part. Nice. Now we kind of have this fullness to it. Our headroom, well, let's take a look. Yeah, we don't have too much headroom. I'm going to go -6 on each one. With that pump. And then the 16th sitting on top actually sounds pretty cool. I want it to have some space, so I'm going to send to a reverb channel. Oh yeah, that's sick. So now we can take this part that has 0. We can actually start increasing how many of this, how much of the 16th note interval is played through. That's a jam. Now it's pretty obvious to hear the bass line in that one. I know it's going to be different than the main melody, but essentially the song has a call response built into it. That short sample that I got from a YouTube video, I don't know, years and years ago, March 5th, 2020, finally coming to light. And then I'm just going to compress the crap out of it. Multi-band compressor for sure. That's going to work perfectly. Now my idea is to build around it with real elements so that we can control the clap, for example, that you're hearing on the offbeats, or the bass line. The bass line is going to be a fun one. I'm just going to create a new MIDI note. Inside this new MIDI clip that I've just created, I'm going to try to draw the melody that I keep hearing, and I can actually use the waveforms to identify that. So this is going to be my bass follow. I'm just going to go with the no beats. You can see that the bass line is this part that's just minus 12 maybe on the track. So it's bump, bump, ba-dum, you know, ba-dum. Oh, it's on every eighth note. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 ba-dum. Okay. Bum, 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 ba-dum. I think that's the one. And then it goes bum 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 ba-dum. I think that's it. Almost. This one was just one off. That's our loop right there. That's our bass line. So I'm going to move that down now. Cool. Oh, I need to account for an extra cadence whole note of I'm going to go over to my I don't know, I'm looking at it sideways. My length, I'm going to go full 2. There we go. Now we have a bass line. We need a good bass. We need one that's a quick, plucky, bow kind of sound. For the sake of just doing this right, I'm going to attempt just using Serum. Not the audio unit, but the VST Serum. Learned from one of my students that if you have a Windows PC, these are incompatible unless you have a translator directly, and it's never fun to have that. So, but here we are. I'm going to design this just from scratch with a single wave table. Oh yeah, I'm going to add a subwoofer to it, sub channel. Already sounds kind of cool. Definitely everything's going through a filter. So I'm going to go ahead and assign not only just the sub, but wavetable, everything that I have, most likely even noise. I'm going to route that to my filter. And then this filter will have an effect probably from envelope 2, which I can push up and design the punch or the ultimate right to left motion of this knob, the cutoff knob. And you can see right away it's starting to have an effect, but I'm going to beef. Now it has that plucky sound. Obviously I'm going to turn it up here in just a sec, but I'm going to drive it. Make it fat. That's a 10. Easy. Okay. Do we add resonance? Do we not add resonance? Is this the right filter? Stuff they have to play around with. I think it needs to be more mute. Yeah. And then bring this down and make it low. Ooh, okay. We're going to add another one. Route it through filter. Nice. From scratch, you can make your own pluck bass, just like that. And then add noise for that extra little thump. If you start hearing phasing issues, which I am, it's because you're canceling it out with equal amounts noise or just equal amounts. The phase is all the way up here, the phase matches over there, the frequency matches for about half a second, and then you lose your bass. Not making it mono is actually the solution, as we found out recently. Thank you, Austin. There is a way of having a stereo bass that works in mono nightclubs. kind of cool. But I want more of that low thump. So I get rid of, let's just say, that other wavetable we just added. Sounds pretty full. But I want this one to have a little bit of unison on the top end. Gives it width. Now we have a width. The only thing that we can really add to it maybe is a compressor. So I'm going to go ahead and add a multi-band compressor and really crank the gain. The attack is relatively short. Release, that's okay. Basses, I like to have a ratio of 2 to 1, just because it gives it a little bit more top end room, and we are sensitive to lower frequencies thanks to the Fleischer-Munson curve. So obviously the bass needs to be louder. It's a little loud. Now remember, go by ear. If I were to pull up a spectrum analyzer, I know for a fact it's dissipated in the mids, and it's just bumpy in the lows and the highs, which sometimes doesn't sound all great in the mix, but it's a nice round sound. It's obviously a little bit busier in the low end. The more low end you cut out, the more low end you get. Oddly enough, that is the rule. So I'm just going to focus where that lowest frequency hits, right around 40 hertz. That's my bass. And I'm going to group that. It's my bass. Now I can play in the background of everything else. Ooh. I want to work on the drums now. My video's sideways. I know. I can't I can't focus on my work in here. I need this whole curved screen that looks super pinched to fulfill my Ableton fantasies. So I'll do a portrait version for you. It'll just be literally this, and that's it. Actually, you know, that's probably a good idea. I could probably assemble a whole song inside of vertical. It'd just look really awkward on YouTube. So I have this melody. Obviously, it has another part to it. I'm going to go ahead and extend both of these clips. Remember, they're both working together. And I'm going to duplicate my bass line. And then that's the continuum. I like this, and let's see. Okay, this is a good cap for the melody, so I'm going to move that to our fourth bar. I'm going to repeat our first bar, and hopefully break the monotony on that second pass. And I think we have our melody. Ooh, almost. I think it needs this one part. Yeah. Yep, that's the melody right there. I wonder. Okay, now the hard part. This bass line, it's good until we decide that's the key that we want this song in. So I'm going to double click into all of these clips, highlighting both rows. There are different warp modes. It shouldn't matter that we adjust the pitch. See if artifacts sound better on low. Son of a bitch. Oh my god. Yeah, but Also notice that the bass is a little bit mute. Needs to go down in pitch a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna make one change. Although yeah, I'm starting to blur the line here. I think it's just mismatched. I'm going to keep the original A, and then I'm going to just detune the entire bass. I think it's probably the best way to go. Where's my rhythm? Forgot master is on the other side. Oops. Oh, if I just remembered Serum 2's quick launch. Yeah, doesn't matter. I'm going to make it here. Here, I'll disable everything else but one. Wow, that is detuned. Is that right? What did I just do? Something with these. I'm gonna shift the bass on it. Alright. We're gonna go with that pitch. I think that pitch is perfect. It's not too much, but it deviates -1, which honestly makes it ours. It's horrible. The law is so weird. So anyways, this new bass line is now taking over. Now to hear if the bass line actually works, I'm gonna go ahead, double click, launch everything. That's our bass line. I'll go ahead and shift it back down. I'm going to duplicate this because actually that top layer sounds perfect for a double. So you could hear it has a little too much. So get rid of your lows, just a little bit, which is down here. That's how you can make a very full bass. Another thing too is not to copy directly, but instead allowing for a little deviation in your frequencies. So for example, I had to just very finely, coarsely pitch it up. And that's how everything lines up. So now it's, you could sound that everything's off. I'm just going to keep one wavetable for just that sake. And then down here, it's the exact same setting, which means that at a lower frequency, you risk every other oscillation canceling out the bass. You don't want to necessarily compromise the low end of your bass, especially when it hits. So I move it maybe a little bit. Hardly noticeable. I'm going to drive up. Actually, I'm going to make it a little fatter. Yeah. Now you can hear that this bass is going way too loud. Okay, so we obviously have that. Sounds like bells? I might be wrong. Bells or a glockenspiel. I'm just going to go with Glock, and it's just super compressed. Yeah. I'm going to try to recreate that. And it's detuned, obviously. Almost entirely half a pitch. It's wild. I can repitch it in here, but I like the feel of what's going on in there. So I'm just going to keep it at that pitch. It honestly sounds kind of cool to me. But in the glockenspiel, we're going to have to modify and I'm a little sharp there anyways. Okay, let me try again. I think that's it, minus 36. We're gonna go minus 6 on the volume. SY Glock. It is a glockenspiel basic. They seem to be octaves apart each hit, so I'm just gonna recreate it once. Yep. Also drive up the velocity. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on every fourth. Maybe. That's the one. Okay, now an octave apart. Make it legato. Okay, honestly, I'm not very satisfied with this Glock. It's pretty underpowered. It's not a Glock. It's Glocken. I'm just gonna recreate a Glock. Let's add another serum. That just doesn't sound like a Glock at all. We're gonna need some FM synthesis for some malative sounds, unless we can make it very aggressive with maybe like a triangle wave. Well, that's close. We need timbre, which is probably gonna be more so like a sawtooth, an aggressive sawtooth. But then the sawtooth has an envelope that pulls it. I don't know, let's just do this in general. It's already pretty close in pitch too, which is concerning. Not sharp enough. So obviously one of these needs to go up. There we go. They still have a filter on them, so I'm going to go ahead and apply filter, turn the envelope on, drag an envelope to the cutoff, make it nice and big. Let's see if I can. I'm going to add some D2. It's going to need a notch filter for that one. Yeah. Drive up the front. pretty okay at 0. That's the synth. Okay. Can't be driven too hard. Going pretty hard. Less resonance. Now it just needs a nice bode. Let's treat it like a mono, but yeah. Yeah, no. Then we lose a lot of side information. There we go. Updated. It's a little bit of a delay. Okay, last thing, compressor multiband. Oh yeah. Nice. Gratuitous amount of reverb. So now we can get rid of the bass in this one. Let's hear this one. Okay, there's a beat. I'm going to replace it with a 909. First move, I'm going to go ahead and group my Glock into the synth. And we need winter colors. So there. Do that one. 6 audio is nothing, I think. Okay, we have 1 bass follow, 2 bass follow, purple, and purpler. Where's my bass follow? Oh. And then we have our Glock. Glock is more of a, yeah. And yeah, okay, that's perfect. Go ahead and shrink our gravity hill mode. We have no MIDI currently. This is our chunk. This is what we made. So I'm going to save it as Gravity Hill CK Remix on my desktop, so I remember it's important. Easy enough. Okay. Give it a sec to save. Let's go. Oh, that's right. I have an external hard drive that actually uses rotary components, mechanical hard drive as they're referred to, which slows down my speeds to this, and you'll see in just a sec it goes away as soon as it recognizes that it's, oh my gosh, if you shake it enough it goes away. Could be set for other things. Why is this frozen? Well, it believes I think I'm not going to be able to save this because it's going to crash unless I'm really patient and I give it like a minute. You guys have a minute? I got to review some self-leadership stuff here soon, but No, it's definitely crashed. Okay, well, great. Let's hope that it saved everything. Come on, Ableton. Go, Ableton. Jeez. Okay, this is also crashing. Give me a second. I not proud with lives. Oh my god. Quit. One more time. If it doesn't work this time, sorry. Stream pool's closed. I can't do it anymore. Oh well. It was a good project while it lasted. I'm gonna deal with this for a sec, so